Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all you wonderful, wonderful F1 fans out there, not only in the home of F101 Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but around the world. If you're hearing my voice, I can only mean two things. That one, my name is Kelsey, and two, you are listening to the newest edition of F101. As always, we're going to start right away, right into the hot topics. One hot topic for this weekend going into the Mexican Grand Prix. Carlos cites a five-place grid penalty for the collision in Austin, Texas last week. I think it's a little bit of a harsh penalty taking into consideration. It didn't look malice. It didn't look like he meant to do it. It was just one of those racing incidents once again, but nevertheless, a five-place grid penalty. Carlos, man, he's on, he's off, he's on, he's off. He's trying his damnedest with Williams. It just does not seem to be one of those great connections as of right now. If there's any luck that he's catching, it is 100% nothing but bad luck. Hopefully, he will be able to have a better Mexican Grand Prix than he did in Austin. And just take into consideration that, hey, you're doing really, really well in an Aston Martin, or not an Aston Martin, in a Williams. There's only so much you can do about it. Big breath. You've got this. Carry on. So now we're just going to move straight into the Mexican Grand Prix. A very, very, very hot Grand Prix. A beautiful Grand Prix weather-wise. It's always nice in Mexico. There's never any overblown winds. There's no bad weather. It's just super, super, super hot. How hot are we talking about? It is estimated that track day on the track, it's mid 40s Celsius track temperature. These guys are absolutely cooking. With a temperature like that in and of itself, it brings up two major issues that you do have to deal with it. One, the consistency of the cars. The cars like it around about 32 to 35 degrees. Not too hard on the components, not too hard on the drivers. Everything's hunky-dory. So, will the cars be able to keep up with the heat and perform as they should? And will Pirelli be able to keep up with the tire difference as well? We do know that Pirelli has brought out some new compounds, some new ways of building their tires. Will they be able to keep up with the heat? They haven't had much of a test so far this season. Yes, there's been some hot days, 38, 39, but nothing to what they're looking forward to in Mexico this weekend. We're talking mid 40s and then higher. So we'll see how these Pirelli tires hold up. I don't anticipate any blown tires. I don't anticipate any catastrophic failures. I'm thinking more along the lines of these tires, the degradation level is just going to skyrocket. So they're not going to be able to go as far or as long or nearly as hard on the tires as they normally would with regular weather temperatures. But there's only one way to find out. That means going through full practice. That means going through qualifying. That means going through the race. So let's get right into it. Right off the bat, there's a couple of notable drop-offs from some of these drivers. Alex Albon, huge drop-off in the last couple of races. His car, it's in good condition. They put some aerodynamic upgrades on it. Again, my thought is maybe they put a couple of extra aerodynamic upgrades that they thought were going to help, but really, really not helpful at all. The car seems a little bit unstable. It seems a little slow around the corners. It doesn't seem nearly as consistent as it was. And in return, because of that, you see Alex Albon getting much more frustrated than we're normally seeing throughout the season. Normally, he's very understanding. He's calm. He's cool. He's collected. He understands why the car is not working out. Well, right now, that's the end of that. He is beyond frustrated with the car. He's beyond frustrated with his team, frustrated with himself that he can't get more out of this car as well. Now, all of them are perfectly understandable. You're near the end of the season. You're tired, 24 races in, all that kind of stuff. Or going to be 24 races in, it's time for a break. Williams, I think, is at the peak of where they're going to sit for the rest of the season. I do expect Alex to not qualify super, super well for the rest of the season, but we all know where the rubber meets the road when it comes to actual race day, sprint races, and regular GPs. He does perform quite well. He still stays in the top 10, not nearly as high in the points as he would absolutely love, but hey, you're still in a Williams. You've been kind of overproducing this season at Williams, no fault of their own, not taking anything away from them. They've had a really good development program. They've had a really good spike in their engineering consistency, car performance, all that kind of fun stuff. Then you add Carlos Sainz to that, his experience, his team, all that kind of stuff. It's been a really, really positive season, but I think they've officially hit their ceiling for the 2025 season. Now, if you're a Williams fan or if you work for Williams or just an F1 fan in general, I think Williams has hit the ceiling at a really good time. They didn't peak super early. They peaked where they needed to, and now it's just kind of that gentle yet frustrating coast to the end of the season. Carlos Sainz not having a wonderful weekend either with the car, more of the car than himself. But still, got to remember, you're still rebuilding this team. You've taken leaps and bounds this season, more than last and more than you have in the past. So just deep breath, Albon. You've done very, very well this season, and you're almost there. Another person struggling, Colapinto. Huge struggle, slow tires. He looks out of his element at this point. I know he's a rookie. I know it's supposed to be it is his first year, learning F1, learning the car, blah, blah, blah. But you're in an Alpine. This is kind of the best that you're going to be able to do. He looks like he's fighting the car every single weekend. No points, no top 10s, not even close to being in the top 10. He is definitely on the bubble, if not guaranteed to not return next season. He just hasn't performed nearly as well as he should have as a rookie just in general. Now, he's also in a rookie class that we haven't seen in a very, very long time. You've got Antonelli, you've got Behrman, you've got Hadro. You've got some big names in the rookie pool, and then there's Colapinto. You give him a proper car, put him in Racing Bulls, I do believe that you would see him score some points. It's a much better team. It's a better atmosphere. It's a much better car, in my opinion. Hey, wait a minute. I just had an idea. Why don't Racing Bulls take Hadjar, put him in Red Bull, get rid of Yuki, and bring up Colapinto for next season? Well, wouldn't that be a headline? I really hope that happens for him. But again, this weekend, Colapinto just struggling. He doesn't seem very fast, doesn't seem very confident in the car. Hopefully, the race itself isn't going to be super tough for him. It's still going to be a challenge. It's still going to be super hot. Everybody's going to be on the track. He just needs to keep his head down and just be consistent. Learn some things, take it into next season, take it into the next race, and hopefully we'll see him back, and hopefully we'll see him in a different team. Someone who is putting it together, George Russell, great qualifying, super fast. He was good all the way from Q1 to Q3. Whatever they've done to the car, definitely 100% working. I think Mercedes' strategy of, hey, you don't have a contract yet, show us what you can do, really put that giddy up in his race. He's got that momentum now. He's got that mindset of, hey, yeah, we're going to, you've got your contract, now show us what you can do with it. He doesn't have the contract hangover. He's really performing quite well. He's not driving himself out of reality. He's not driving out of his boots, but he's just very consistent and very fast. Now, this still hurts me to say this, as he is George Russell and he's not one of my favorite drivers, but you got to give the guy his due. When you're on, you're on. Well, let's talk about the positives. Let's talk about how fast these guys were. From first to 20th position, they were within 1 second of each other. These guys are absolutely dialed in by the end of the season. Super fast track, super hot track. Nobody can complain at all. Let's talk about the bottom 5. These are the people that did not make it past Q1, starting from 20th to 15th. Colapinto dead last, Lance Stroll in 19th, Pierre Gasly in 18th, Alex Albon in 17th, and Gabriel Bortoleto in 16th. No real surprises there. Yeah, it's just these guys are just not able to keep up. No big surprise with Bortoleto, Colapinto, Albon, we just talked about not exactly having a wonderful couple of races. Both Alpines just not doing it. And of course, Lance Stroll, we all know my opinion on him. Moving on into Q2, apart from going from rookies that are not able to keep up to some rookies that are just blowing everybody out of the water. Isaac Hadjar showing huge pace again this weekend, showing massive concentration, showing that he absolutely 100% deserves to be in F1. We just keep coming back to the same topic. Is he going to go back to Red Bull or go to Red Bull? Is he going to stay in Racing Bulls? I really hope he stays in Racing Bulls. I really do. I don't think he's ready for Red Bull. They're going to chew him up, spin him out. They're going to kind of ruin his career as it is. It's just not going to be a good transition for him if he does go. Lando Norris being more of himself this weekend. Super confident, super fast. Car was on rails. Not a whole lot of distress or drama showing from him. I know it's kind of what we've come to expect from any kind of McLaren driver this weekend. Just to be, if there is any kind of hiccups, any kind of drama that happens, any kind of team orders, whatever, you just kind of deal with it and you move on and you do the best that you can. Lando Norris absolutely taking advantage of some new car specs, not a whole lot, some more minor things that they've added or tweaked to the car, nothing of note, but it's just enough, more of a personal touch, I do believe. On the flip side, Oscar Piastri not looking like his championship self, struggling with the car, looks like he's fighting it a little bit, not necessarily as much concentration as we've expected from him. We've kind of come to expect really, really, really great things from Oscar Piastri. Now, was it a horrible qualifying? Absolutely not. Not by any stretch of the imagination, but from what the fans, from the teams, and from themselves, everyone's come to expect of Piastri and Norris as of late, it was a horrible qualifying for him. But he didn't crash, he didn't spin out, he wasn't dead last or anything like that. He just seemed to be, struggling with the car just a little bit. So a couple of power unit issues that may have popped up, which generally doesn't help out when you're trying to get into the top 10. Liam Lawson struggling again, more track limits. This is like the third race in a row where he's getting track time and really good track time deletions because track times deleted because of track violations. He just cannot keep this car between the white lines. Now, is it the car? Is it the driver? Looking at his past 5 races up until Mexico and qualifying now, he seemed to go from confident and not moving the needle a whole lot, but being consistent and learning some things, to all of a sudden he's driving almost panicky. He's driving like he's never going to race ever again, that his job depends on it. And unless something's going on in the background, his job does depend on it, as every other driver does, but he seems almost borderline out of control. He almost seems like there's something going on with the car that either he doesn't understand or he can't control, or he's just trying too damn hard. We've all had those weekends where we want to do the best that we possibly can, but no matter what we do, it ain't going to happen. Well, it seems like the last couple of races for Liam Lawson, this is what's happening. No matter how hard he tries to slow down, no matter how hard he tries to stay concentrated, keep the car between the lines, push the car, be on the edge as much as he can, he keeps getting nailed with these track limit violations, and this is what's actually screwing up his race. He ends up finishing 15th, dead last in Q2 because of more track violations. You got to keep it between the lines, man. There's only 4 races left by the time we're done. Maybe they need to go back to, maybe you just slow down again. Go back to 5 races, see what the car setup was. Take your time. Go back to that. It's not going to hurt you any. You're not exactly going to win Rookie of the Year. You're not going to win the Constructors, but you need to finish the year off with some kind of validation of how you're driving, some kind of upswing, some kind of confidence. And what better way to do that is to start driving like you were before. So, in my opinion, if anybody actually listens to this who's part of F1, which I hope they really, really do, Lawson, slow down. Mentally slow down. Go back to what you were doing 3 races ago. You were doing just fine. You were staying on the line. You were catching some times. You were getting in the points. It wasn't a bad result. Being more consistent is better than being absolutely flawless or absolutely a terror on the track and not getting any track time. Dude, just go back to what it was before. Be more consistent. We're going to go back to Piastri for half a second. Just as Q2 is ending, Oscar Piastri absolutely barely, literally, he pulled a Max Verstappen miracle out. Last lap, no time left. He's able to make it into Q2. Into Q3. This is just showing the type of stress that these drivers are under. Piastri, who's normally in the top 3 every single time, barely makes it out of Q2. Let's talk about those guys that did make it out of Q2. We're going to go from 15th to 11th. 15th, Liam Lawson with those track limit violations I talked about. Fernando Alonso in 14th, Hulkenberg in 13th, Carlos Sainz in 12th, Esteban Ocon in 11th. Carlos Sainz a little bit better than Esteban Ocon, but not by a whole lot. Yeah, he made it into Q2, didn't make it out of Q2, but it's just, he's happy with his performance, which is great. I think he's playing it a little safe in the Williams car, just seeing the frustration that his teammates going through. They're trying to pass along information back and forth to see what's going on, but Carlos Sainz, I think he's also extracted the most that he possibly could out of this car in 1 year. I think both Williams drivers are just going to kind of hang on for the rest of the season, do the best they can, and then a brand new car, brand new start for the 2026 season. I think it's not a bad plan. I think it's one of those plans where you know the car better than most people. So if you know this is the ceiling, don't make any more tweaks. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. And just do the best you can with what you got. Q3. Oh my good Lord. Not exactly the Q3 that we have been expecting, that we've seen the last couple of races. Both Ferraris still on their upswing. Leclerc and Hamilton, a little bit of a hiccup here and there, but you can definitely see they're on the upswing. They're substantially faster. Whatever they've done to the car is working. I think they lowered it just a little bit more, but not too much. But they've also made the appropriate adjustments aerodynamically because of that height difference. If you looked at the side pods at the beginning of the weekend to where the actual weekend started to the actual qualifying, they added a few more air slots into the side pod. better downforce, better ventilation. It's just they're helping the car out just a little bit here and there. This is the perfect example of a high-end team not just relying on their laurels, but doing very small increment improvements throughout the season up until the very, very end. And you damn well know that everybody back in the shop, they're taking a look at the data on what these really small modifications have been doing, and they're going to add that to the 2026 car. I would not be surprised by the end of this season and the beginning of next season, Ferrari comes out just hell-bent out of the gate. They're making very, very smart and very small adjustments to the car. Nothing that's going to be super flashy. They're not putting on a new wing, new side pod, new halo, new front wing, no new air intake, none of that. They're focusing on the things that they believe will make the most difference while saving themselves money and learning the most amount of information. The extra side pod ventilations, all that sort of thing. They also had a little bit less of a scoop in the side pod as well. Again, this is more tweaking for this year and for the 2026 car. It's proven to be very successful for them. They've been getting faster and faster every single weekend. Now, are they competing for the front? Yes and no. They've got their moments. They've also got their ups, they've got their downs, but at this part of the season, they definitely have more ups than downs, which is a massive win for this team this year. Some improvements come better than others. Some improvements are easier than others. And then there's some times where you expect someone to improve because of conditions in car where it just really doesn't work out. This weekend, Max Verstappen, again in the headlines, but not for amazing reasons. He's normally super, super fast in Mexico. He likes the hot weather, so does the car. Normally, they did a bunch of upgrades led for this race alone to try to improve his efforts. They did a bunch of aerodynamic changes. They upgraded a bunch of stuff, 5 or 6 different upgrades on the car. I think this is the perfect example of what should have been a perfect storm. Again, Hamilton moving to Ferrari. It's the perfect storm that just died before it got out of the gate. I think in this instance, they have upgraded themselves out of a win. Now, he did still place very, very well. Qualifying for him was absolutely horrible. It was not a great start for the weekend. I think they need to take all 5 upgrades that they put on the car, take them away. Put the car back that was in Austin. That car performed beautifully. It was hot in Austin. It's hot in Mexico. The track in Mexico is a little more detailed than a little bit more technical than it is in Austin, but it should have been relatively close. Now I see where they were going with these changes, going, well, if he did this well in Austin with this kind of heat, what if we do these upgrades in Mexico, which is hotter? He should go faster. Right train of thought, not exactly working out the best of their ability. Max, no grip whatsoever the entire weekend. The car seems super difficult to drive, trouble with the brakes, trouble with the steering, slow off the line. So whatever they did, actually, in my opinion, set him back at least 3 grid spots. It's almost an unintentional team penalty. Now, like I said, the upgrades were great. I think they're doing the same thing as Ferrari's doing, a couple upgrades here, a couple upgrades there, see what works for 2026. But Red Bull's more focused on this year with the Drivers' Championships because Max is so close. He does still have the ability to win Drivers' Championship, but I think they made a massive mistake this weekend. I'm sure they're going to catch some useful data. It'll be a massively different car for the next race, but when you look at the qualifying times and the way the performance of the car was and how frustrated Max was and everything else, they didn't exactly do themselves any kind of gifts. All right, let's go through the top 10. Starting from 10th to 1st, Yuki Tsunoda in 10th, Ollie Behrman in 5th, Isaac Hadjar in 8th, Oscar Piastri in 7th, Antonelli in 6th, Verstappen 5th, Russell in 4th, Hamilton in 3rd, Leclerc in 2nd, and Lando Norris, continuing with a very, very fast weekend, ends up getting on pole position. Perfect example, Ferrari 2-3. Last weekend, they wouldn't have been anywhere near that. Weekend before, nowhere near that. But because they're doing all these small changes here and there, it's turned out to be a very, very successful campaign for them. They will finish with some really good points by the end of the season. So qualifying's done. Everybody's in their spots. No penalties for qualifying. No changes in the grid. So that can only mean one more thing. It is officially race day. It is the Mexican Grand Prix. It is round 20. We're talking 17 turns, 71 laps distance, 4.3 kilometers, top speed of 372 kilometers an hour. This is one of the longest and most technical races you will see this year and every year. It's a nice long track. There's some really good flowing corners, also some very technical spots. A lot of places where guys can spin out, a lot of places where guys can lose their traction if their car is not exactly amazing on short, slow corners. Track temperature. In general, I knew it was going to be a difference. I told you about it. 52 degrees centigrade track temperature. Now, things you're going to notice this season, which have been in place for a couple of races now, especially for the hot ones and going into 2026, is that you're going to see these guys wearing vests when they hop in the cars now. Now, these vests in previous seasons were just cooling vests before the race itself. But because they've run into so many races that have, essentially air quotations, heat, stroke, danger, like super hot, technically unsafe, these guys are now riding along with cooling vests. Now, these are not plugged into the car anyway. These are just gel or whatever the combination of the cooling equipment is. But they've also made adjustments to the weight of the car itself to allow for these extra pieces of equipment to be on. Yes, they are fire retardant. They're still fully safe. It's just another added safety feature that they're adding towards the drivers. It doesn't impede them in any way. I think this is a fantastic addition for what they've done for this season. These drivers' safety is still of the utmost importance, whether it's a crash or whether it's temperature in the car. It's a very safe thing. It's a very good thing to keep them as cool as possible. Now, with 52-degree track temperature, tire management is massively going to be key. It used to be Mexico is a one-stop race. For most drivers and most teams, it will be. But in this race with the temperature, there's going to be a lot of teams that think it's going to be a two-stop strategy. People like Aston Martin, Racing Bulls, Aston Martin, all of them did do two-stop races. They're more racing amongst themselves, not exactly in the top 5 teams. So you could tell a little bit lower performance for the cars. It just demolished the tires a little bit more. A couple of teams did take extra pit stops, but Ferrari, McLaren, and Red Bull and Mercedes, all of them, one-stop races, and it was a fantastic way to start. Speaking of fantastic ways to start, 5 lights out, away we go. And if you missed it, this is one of the most interesting and slightly stressful starts that we have seen all year because it's such a long rundown to the first corner. Max Verstappen, fantastic start. You've got 4 cars wide. You've got Max, you've got Leclerc, you've got Lando Norris, and you've got George Russell, all 4 wide. Lewis Hamilton losing a little bit of space, losing a couple of spots. This is where most of the controversy starts. Because they went 4 wide, Max Verstappen's on the far left, and then you move your way into where Lando Norris was. Because they were 4 wide, Max is not giving up track space. He ends up going technically off track, ends up skipping the entire first corner, takes the slightly long way around, the safe way around, and when he joins back in front of George Russell. Well, George Russell did what George Russell does best and just starts to whine and complain and bitch and do everything else about, how he joined off track, how he did this, how he did that. Meanwhile, he is in the conversation of a collision between Max Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, thinking that George Russell had put Max in a position where he had to make with Lewis Hamilton, and was George Russell to blame and all this kind of fun stuff. And it was just the most chaotic start to a Mexican Grand Prix I have ever seen. Meanwhile, Oscar Piastri loses 4 spots. He stayed out of the drama, which is great, but he was so slow off the mark. He ends up losing 4 spots. He ends up technically starting the race once the cars started moving. He ends up starting in technically 11th. It was not exactly a wonderful race. So with everything happening on track, next lap, next corner, same thing. Corner 1, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton. All of a sudden, Hamilton decides to pass off track. Okay. He goes wide again. Well, another driver goes wide, ends up passing him. It's just, he wasn't going to make the corner. It was going to be Max with Leclerc, and Hamilton knew what happened the first time. He just wanted to stay out. I think he just wanted to stay out of the mess, wanted to keep the car as safe as possible. No damage, no DNFs, anything like that. So what's he do? He decides to end up cutting the corner. But what he ends up doing ends up costing him a 10-second penalty. He gets an advantage off the track. So what does that mean? That means when he hit that corner, when he shaved that corner, he actually passed 3 different cars and he wasn't in his proper spot. He gained an advantage just by going straight and cutting the corner. Again, George Russell, whine, bitch. Oh my God, everybody's cheating. Everyone's going off the track. No one's getting penalties, all this kind of stuff. Well, to go back to the Max Verstappen incident first, Max was noted for going off track. Okay. But how he rejoined, he let the first 3 cars end up passing him again. So he did end up going back into the position that he needed to be in. He didn't cheat. Technically he did. He cut the corner, but he didn't cheat by gaining an advantage. Lewis Hamilton, when he cut the corner, he gained an advantage. He gained a 3-car advantage. The Stewards, to their credit this time, didn't take nearly as long as they needed to. It was like 3 more laps. They came down with the decision, 10-second penalty for him. Meanwhile, first DNF, lap 2, good old Liam Lawson. Sorry, buddy. It's just another consistency issue with his car. Everyone's thinking it's because of the heat, and I have a tendency to agree. There hasn't been any formal explanation on why the car stopped. You listen to the onboard, it was just box, you're done, come into the pit lane, there's an issue. That's it. They wouldn't broadcast anything like that. I'm thinking it's the temperature and how the cars are not really regulating themselves, and it wasn't exactly going to be a safe race for him. And they didn't want to risk damaging the car, costing themselves more money, and the safety of their driver, which, in my mind, 100% makes sense. So while all of this is happening, you've got cars going off the track, you've got people complaining, you got 10-second penalties, you've got cars quitting. There's one car out there that I didn't know they had a new upgrade. I missed it. Haas has a brand new floor upgrade they introduced into Austin, which they didn't get a whole lot of time to tweak, but they got more time in Mexico. And now all of a sudden, amongst all of this chaos, Ollie Behrman goes from 9th in less than 2 laps, goes from 9th to 4th. He's taking advantage in the best way possible. He's biding his time. He's finding opportunities to pass, and he's making full advantage of these opportunities. Really, really great racecraft from him. Great speed, great concentration, really good decision-making. He is going to be an absolute phenom in the world of F1 in later years. So we're going through a couple of laps. This is a very long race. When you have long races, especially when they're hot, even with the cooling vest, you have a tendency to sometimes lose concentration. Even the best of us do, including F1 drivers. And this was one of those weekends for Carlos Sainz where he would just rather forget it. He gets a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Now, this is not an uncommon penalty, but it's on you type of penalty unless you state that there's something wrong with your car. Carlos Sainz did not exactly state that anything was wrong with his car. He just got a speeding in the pit lane penalty, which is fine. Williams went on a 2-stop strategy. He comes around again when it's time to bring in new laps. He gets another speeding in pit lane penalty. But this time he states that he's pressing the brake and there's a massive delay. There's something wrong or going on with his brakes, the response time. The stewards hear that. Instead of giving him another 5-second penalty, which would have absolutely sucked, they give him a drive-through penalty. So now this is the type of penalty that you don't see very often anymore. It's yeah, you did something wrong. You're going to get penalized for it, but it's something that's totally out of your control. So to keep the rules fair, which they have to do as much as they possibly can, we're going to still ding you for something. So a drive-through penalty is you have to go through the pit lane at the pit lane speed. It's getting hit with a virtual safety car, but for a very short amount of time. Now, from the time you enter the pit lane to the time you leave is about 17 seconds. Now that's with a pit stop. So take out 2 seconds. It's a 15-second slow time penalty, where realistically in drive time, depending on where you are, you can lose up to 7 spots I've seen, or you can lose to nothing depending on where you are. Carlos Sainz ended up losing 2 spots because of this drive-through penalty. Again, not the worst penalty in the world, also not his own fault. It was just a really bad end to a weekend that he just wanted done. Lap 28, Nico Hulkenberg out. Again, same thing. Seems to be a power unit temperature type issue. Again, super, super hot, 52 degrees. Some of these cars deal with it better than others do. Not his fault. Wasn't exactly having a wonderful weekend. Wasn't having a horrible weekend. And just a regular kick Salba weekend. On top of that, by the time you get to lap 31, Lando Norris, who I've only mentioned since the beginning, and that's it, is officially 17 seconds ahead of everybody else. He needed to do what he did. Stay out of the drama, stay in first, get that clean air, drive away. That's exactly what he did. Lap 36, Alex Albon, his horrible weekend finally came to an end. Again, out. Doesn't say why. Again, assuming it's a temperature thing, box, temperature with the car. I think it was a PU unit this time, power unit. Still, same thing, not going into a whole lot of detail. A little bit of Mercedes drama. And it's funny. George Russell likes to whine, bitch, and complain. Because, well, he's George Russell. So, situation is, he's behind Kimi Antonelli, who is behind, I believe it was Leclerc, I think. Anyway, situation is, every driver thinks they're faster than their partner. Everybody does. Sometimes some people just show it on track, and some people tell the team, depending on the team, hey, I'm faster than, tell them to move over. So George Russell took the latter. George Russell's like, hey, I'm faster than him. Make him, give him orders to pull over. Make him go to the side so I can pass him. To which Mercedes responded, yeah, you are faster, but you're racing, which was an amazing, and I'm paraphrasing here, which was an amazing response. Essentially, this is, hey, you're not a special child. If you want to pass him, you have to do it on your own. George Russell was not able to pass him just because of the track, a couple of circumstances, all this stuff. So he's stuck behind Antonelli for a couple more laps. And then he asks his engineer, hey, tell Antonelli to move over again. If I am not faster than, I think it was Leclerc. If I'm not faster than Leclerc, then I will he even said a couple of laps. If I'm not faster than him and I don't pass him within a couple of laps, you can have the spot back. Kind of almost bragging, going, well, if I can't do this, he can have the spot back. Ha ha ha. To which Antonelli's, the team agreed. They ended up swapping spots. And this was the best thing. If you're not a George Russell fan like myself, it was the best thing I have seen all season. 5 laps ahead of Antonelli, and he pulls over to the side and lets Antonelli pass him because there is absolutely no way that he is able to get past Leclerc. It was the best piece ever. But to George, he pulled over by himself. He didn't need to get told. He did it on his own accord, knowing that he was not able to pass the car ahead of him. Hey, I said if I could, I would. I can't, so you go back to where you needed to be. They did end up switching spots back. Good teammate by George Russell. Antonelli would have been stuck behind him anyways. The DRS train was getting a little long. There's not very many long places to pass. Most of the track in Mexico, you cannot pass 2 cars at one time. So it was the proper thing to do. But it was just, he sounded so confident that Antonelli needed to pull over so he could pass him, so he could pass another car. He didn't end up getting it done. We're going to check in on Norris again. We're 57 laps and he's now 27 seconds ahead. Just nothing going on. I think we saw during the broadcast, we saw Lando Norris 3 times in the entire race, 2 of which was at the beginning, and then they went to his penultimate lap and he won the race. Spoiler alert, he won the race. A bit of a boring race for him, absolutely. Last lap, lap 71, Carlos Sainz ends up getting into a little bit of a fender bender. His car gets pulled off onto the side right by where the off ramp is for the track. Now, here's the other massive, annoying piece from the stewards and a very disappointing way to end the race. So Carlos Sainz is out. He's out of the car. He is pulled over so far on a slow corner. There is no way that anybody's hitting him. But because the stewards saw smoke coming out of the car, which would have been his brakes, they made a judgment that his car was about to become on fire. So instead of going to a virtual safety car, a very short one, I might add, and then, or even just a yellow flag, they go to a full virtual safety car. It's just, what the fuck are you doing? So the stewards deemed that there could have been fire. So a couple of stewards with fire extinguishers went out, hit the back of his car. It should have been done and dusted right there. Less than a lap, right? It took them 2 full laps. And Max Verstappen is right behind Leclerc. And we're talking literally, if he spits, he's hitting the back of Leclerc. He is right on him. But because there's a virtual safety car, a full virtual safety car, which is a double yellow, it's 1 step before a safety car comes out. That's how they finished the race. It was so uncalled for. The stewards did not need to, 1, take that much time to put the car out. It was, I know they're going on the side of safety in case the car caught on fire. There's stewards there. There's the drivers there. You want to maintain it, all this kind of stuff. I get it. Safety first. It's very important, but you need to be able to have the kind of stewards and the officials trackside to determine, hey, we're just going to hit this once or twice with the fire extinguisher. It's going to be out. He's pulled so far off. Get rid of the yellow flag in a half a lap. Literally, you could get rid of it. 3, 2, 1. We're done. Green flag. Let it go. It was just such an anticlimactic way of finishing the Mexican Grand Prix. Max Verstappen was going, in my opinion, to be able to pass Leclerc 4-second spot, but because of this, he does end up getting third. He does end up kind of getting screwed out of some extra points to take out of McLaren, but hey, it's racing. Post interview, Max didn't seem super upset about it. He's like, hey, I've had advantages when that's happened when I'm in front, and I've had some disadvantages today where I'm behind somebody, and it's just the way racing goes. Safety first. He didn't seem too upset. He just seemed more understanding, just part of racing. It's not like he was dead last. He was just fighting for second. And that, folks, that's the anticlimactic way the Mexican Grand Prix finished. Ollie Behrman finishing with the drive of his life, qualifying or finishing higher than he ever has in any Grand Prix in his entire life. Congratulations to Ollie Behrman. Also, Stroll collision counter has been reset. Congratulations, you finished the race. Now, if Lance Stroll would not have been able to finish the race because of the heat and any kind of power unit issues, that would not have counted as a crash. I still would have given him a clean weekend. He is now officially up to 4 full racing days. Congratulations, Lance Stroll. That's literally the most exciting thing that happened the entire race once all the corner stuff was dealt with. Lando Norris ended up passing the finish line 32 seconds ahead of Leclerc. He said it was once you got past the first 5 laps and the cars quitting because of the temperature and all that, it was a very technical race, which is good, but also a little bit boring if you were hoping for a close first, second place drive. Let's get into the top 10. These are how the race ended, going from 10 to first. Let's get into it. Bortoleto in 10th, Esteban Ocon in 9th, Lewis Hamilton in 8th, George Russell in 7th, Kimi Antonelli in 6th, Piastri in 5th, Ollie Behrman in 4th, Max Verstappen in 3rd, Leclerc in 2nd, Lando in 1st. Very, very, very odd to see Oscar Piastri in 5th. Because of that, its categories have changed. The standings have officially changed. The drivers' championships. We're going to go from 10th to 1st. Isaac Hadjar in 10th with 39 points. Nico Hulkenberg in 9th with 41. Alex Albon in 8th with 73. Antonelli in 7th with 97. Hamilton in 6th with 146 points. Leclerc in 5th with 210. Russell in 4th with 258. Max Verstappen in 3rd with 321. Oscar Piastri has now been bumped. He is in 2nd with 356 points. Lando Norris is now 1st with 357 points. Top 3 is definitely going to come down to the last 4 races. Out of those 4 races, we've got 3 sprint races as well. It's going to be a jam-packed, point-filled end of the season. Rookie standings are looking like this. Colapinto is still last with 0 points. Bortoleto is 4th with 19. Ollie Behrman's in 3rd with 32 points. Isaac Hadjar is in 2nd with 39 points. Kimi Antonelli is still our number 1 rookie with 97 points. Look for Ollie Behrman and Isaac Hadjar to swap at least once or twice before the end of the 2026 season. Both drivers on a heater. Both teams really going to finish very close. Constructors Championships going from 10th to 1st. Alpine's holding up the basement with 20 points. Kick Salba is in 9th with 60 points. Haas is in 8th with 62. Aston Martin's in 7th with 69. And then Racing Bulls is in 6th for 72 points. This is going to be the constructors race you want to pay attention to and you're going to want to watch. It's going to be the most exciting one. Williams in 5th with 111 points. Red Bull is in 4th with 346. Mercedes has been bumped. They're now in 3rd with 355 points. Mercedes is in 2nd with 356. And McLaren is still in the lead. They have officially won, but 713 points. Ferrari and Mercedes, 2nd and 3rd in the Constructors' Championships. I think this is going to be how it ends. Mercedes, with their tweaks and their driver lineup and their confidence and their upgrades, I think Mercedes is just going to start to run away with this at the end of the season. Well, when's the next time you're going to hear from me? Well, the next race is in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It is a sprint weekend, but not nearly as early as we had the last one. Let's get right into it. November 7th to 9th. Friday, 1 hour of full practice starting at 7:30 a.m. Sprint qualifying is at 11:30. Saturday, the sprint race itself is 7 a.m. Qualifying for the Grand Prix is at 11 a.m. And the race day Sunday, pre-race is at 9 a.m. The race itself is 10 a.m. Post-race, 11 a.m. Sao Paulo, Brazil, look again for another hot weekend. Tire strategy, cooling strategies, maybe go from a 2 to a 3 stop because how the tires are going. It's a very rough track. It's a very built-in track. It's a very technical track, but it's also a very fast track. So expect a lot of bumps. Expect more drama from the top 5 drivers in Sao Paulo. I don't think I've ever seen one where something hasn't happened. Well, there you go, folks. That is the breakdown of the Mexican Grand Prix. A massive thank you to everybody who tunes in every week or every 2 weeks for new episodes. It is greatly appreciated. Without the fans that I have, this wouldn't nearly be as much fun as I'm having now. And with that, keep those engines revving, those tires spinning, and we will talk to you next time on F101. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all you wonderful F1 fans out there, not only in the home of F101 Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but around the world. If you're hearing my voice, that can only mean 2 things. That one, you are listening to the newest edition of F101, and my name is Kelsey.